Hi, it's Sandy again with my soapbox entry for January the 29th, 2023. I often wish that the Church of Scientology did not charge so much for their services. I wish there weren't so many rules for their parishioners to follow. I wish that being a Scientologist did not mean that I have to cut out of my life friends, family, and former members that are disaffected with the church. I mean, it's as if the church thinks they are just making everyone so happy and they are just so perfect that anyone who disagrees with them must be some sort of evil person that needs to be shunned, attacked, or both. That attitude towards the outside world isn't just suppressive, it's just plain immature. And people can, and have, gotten hurt because of it. And if the church did not have those issues, I would join it in a heartbeat. Maybe someday they'll get it together. One can only hope. The church assumes a lot of authority over their parishioners, and even tries to shape the outside world into their own image. But they don't really have as much authority as they imagine they do. What they have is a group of people reading books and listening to CDs, occasionally using an electronic device to help them with their problems. When you think about it, that's what it really boils down to. Scientology at its most basic is a series of books and CDs. But don't discount the value of those books and CDs just because the church lets those books and CDs go to their heads. You can study those same books and CDs yourself, derive the benefit from them, and you can do it without those materials giving you some idea that you are now better than everyone else and have the right to tell others what to do, and not have to deal with the well-dressed slaves at the church who read those same books and CDs and now think they are somehow in charge of mankind because they are the only ones who can save it. Well, they are not in charge of mankind, and they are not the only ones who can save it. That said, I do believe that a group that had some actual power, and knew what to do with it, and had mankind's best interests at heart rather than their own agenda, could actually save mankind and take charge if they armed themselves with the Scientology technology. But that's not the Church of Scientology, at least not the way it's being run today. So don't worry folks, the church cannot, and never will take over planet Earth. I mean, what are they, something like 100,000 versus the billions of the rest of us? Think about how many Muslims there are, and how long they have been around, and despite their best efforts, they still haven't conquered the world. But they could if they practiced Scientology, but at the same time, they would have to give up their guns and bombs, and start treating women with more respect. So, forget it guys, you aren't taking over either, as much as Muhammad wants you to. But now that I mention Islam, I'd like to say that it's interesting that Scientology and Islam have formed an alliance with each other in the USA. But I don't think it's an alliance that's going to last long once the Muslims realize that to do Scientology properly and benefit from it, they are going to have to once and for all give up on their Muhammad-condoned sins, so I don't think the world has much to worry about on that point, and I have a feeling the two groups are going to end up being enemies because the Muslims just won't permit the church to get their ethics in. Enough on that. Let's talk about you and me. I study Scientology and am not a member of the church. I recognize there is a huge difference between the Church of Scientology and the actual subjects of Dianetics and Scientology. I know I sound like a broken record on that point, and I have to be, because there are still people out there that cannot separate the two in their minds. Scientology helps me communicate better, work more efficiently, and shows me a route to spiritual freedom. Now on reading this, you might ask, why would I need to study TROM too? It's very simple. TROM picks up where Scientology leaves off. I mean, Scientology is nearly perfect, but the key word is nearly. Other than a few flaws in the technology that Dennis Stevens found, and the fact Scientology makes you dependent on an organization to receive auditing, Scientology would be perfect, and that's why many people still study and practice it, and are willing to put up with some of the abuses of the church. TROM, however, handles the one thing about Scientology that makes you dependent on the organization, and that is the auditing. In TROM you can audit yourself. No organization to answer to, and you can study it in secret. You can also study Scientology in secret, the same way you practice TROM, and learn about everything that TROM doesn't cover. You see, I don't have to be loyal to the church, I don't have to be loyal to Dennis Stevens, or anyone else. I am only loyal to the truth. I have been and always will be, and the truth is a powerful ally, for sure. Now let's get on to why I advise you to keep your studies of TROM and Scientology a secret, or at least why I do. A lot of it is politics, I am sorry to say. If you practice Scientology, you have to deal with all the drama from your friends and family about how they say it's a cult, and they are trying to brainwash you, and paint the church up to be much worse than it is. Not everyone can differentiate between the church and the subject. Overly critical people just plain won't, no matter how much you try and reason with them. For me, studying TROM and letting everyone know about it is going to make my Scientologist friends, nice people by the way, but still subject to what the church tells them, disconnect from me, because that is what they have to do to remain church members. Then there are those out there who know TROM was developed by a Scientologist, that are so anti-Scientology they can't see the difference between the two subjects, and I don't want to attract attention from them either. There are also people other than the types I just mentioned who just plain don't want you to be a free spiritual being. Period. Now I am not saying one should live one's life to impress one's critics. I could probably win an argument with any one of these people. But why even bother to start the argument in the first place? Arguments are upsetting to both sides, and I just don't need the drama. So I play along with the dog-eat-dog rat race, the middle-class mentality that's drilled into so many of us, and I act like I have just as many problems and upsets as everyone else. Inside, I know I am gradually rising above it all, and I need not tell a soul. This is why you will never see my face on this channel. I tell only those I trust the most about what I do, and suggest the same for you. For I am not just Sandy the self-study Scientologist and TROMer, I am Sandy the secret self-study Scientologist and TROMer. It's like being a superhero. I fly around at night in my invisible airplane, knocking out aberrations in my mind, and no one knows about it. This has been a presentation of Sandy's Soapbox on the Scientology and the Resolution of the Mind YouTube channel. Subscribe now.